And I know. Yeah, and we're live. We're going to share this I got a great guest here, man. I'm excited. Jim Allen. I'm going to share this to our personal page, and we're going to get started. And guys, if you are listening now and you have questions for Jim or myself, I want to make sure you guys share. We can bring it up on the screen. And I'm just excited. We just tag everybody here. And make sure Jim. Boom. So now we're on our personal page. We're starting. Look at that. We already got people coming on. We can make sure I hit record. And welcome to the Super Terb Podcast. I'm your host, Michael Turbot, your local real estate expert with the Untitled Group, Coldwell Banker, HPW. And welcome to joining me on my Super Terb Podcast. I started this, Jim, in the fall. You're episode 29. I can't believe it. Wow. I started this to talk with local business owners, entrepreneurs, agents, coaches, just to tell your story, tell yourself a little bit about yourself. But most importantly for today, Jim, I wanted you to come on. Obviously, I've known you now. Been doing real estate 15 years. You've known my mom. Probably you guys have been doing about just as long, right?
Whole life, yeah.
Yeah. So I thought how cool would it be to have Jim Allen, Coldwell Banker, HPW, number one team in America for units sold last year, and we share walls. How cool is that?
That is right, and it's so exciting. Look, the cool thing is when Michael asked me about it, I couldn't wait to do it because I'm a fan of it. I watch it.
I appreciate it.
I encourage it, man.
So I have a lot of questions for you. I want you to tell your story, but I want y'all to talk about the real estate market that we're seeing today. Obviously, you're a staple with new construction as well, with relationships you have, the developments you've helped with. Maybe talk more about new construction, because I know I have conversations daily about new homes, new construction, lumber, material. So it's going to be great to have a professional, an expert, maybe just give additional insight to that, to help educate more. That's what we also do this for. So I'm going to, and I also wanted to briefly talk before we take a break. So I always like to have a real estate topic or tip before this. And now we're entering into July. And I think, Jim, you could probably touch on this with you and your team. Normally, we probably see a little bit of a slowdown, summer now. I know more people are traveling. But one thing that I think that COVID has done in regards to virtual and FaceTime, and you may be 3,000 miles away, but a listing goes live, that agent's there to help you, may even make an offer sight unseen. So we haven't seen any slowdown. We had a coming soon listing come up today. I've already had 6 calls on it. We don't even have photos really yet. So it's amazing. Are you seeing the same thing?
It's absolutely wide open. And in fact, I think you have to react immediately. You don't even have time to get inside of a home if you want an opportunity to purchase it. There's only a 0.24 month supply of houses, period. So when you're only at 0.8 of 1 month supply, then you have to sit here and look at the whole marketplace and say it takes 11 months, 12 months, 14 months to build these houses. We won't catch up in the short run. So it's going to get worse and worse and worse as we go through, because not enough houses have gotten built this past year because of some interruption. Yeah,
no question. So we're going to get into that. I'm going to take a quick break, and then on the other side, we're going to start our conversation with Jim Allen with the Jim Allen Group. Can't wait to get into this, all right?
Yes, sir.
And welcome back to the Super Terb Podcast. Again, I'm your host, Michael Turbot, your local real estate expert with the Untitled Group, Coldwell Banker, HPW, and I have Jim Allen with me, owner of the Jim Allen Group. Jim, before we get started, I know many people watching this, listening to this, may know you, but if not, tell everybody your name, who you are, where you're from.
Jim Allen, originally from a little town called Samora, North Carolina, but I've been in Raleigh since I went to college at State and been here ever since, and started selling real estate a year after I got out of college. I thought I wanted to be an engineer and went out and tried that. I won't tell you the local firm I worked for, but it wasn't my bag. But I was smart enough, thank goodness. I dated a girl in college that talked me into getting my real estate license while we were in college. She was a apartment manager and needed to get hers and couldn't pass the exam, so I took it with her. And
so what year was that, if you don't mind sharing? How long have you been doing real estate?
I have been doing real estate since 1984. I took my test and exam in 1982, but I actually didn't start selling until 84.
So you got about 3 years on my mom, Ida. So that's cool. And I know you got some great stories we'll share later. So how long have you been with Coldwell Banker?
Been with Coldwell Banker since 2009. That's hard to believe. Came over like at the bottom of the market.
That's hard to believe. We've been here 10 years now. So that's great. So when you first started, how long was it until you started a team? Were you were individual?
I really didn't start a team until I'd been in business maybe 10 years. I wish I had started earlier, but I was under this illusion that I had to do everything myself and everybody had to get some of me. And I think that's part of, as an agent, getting past that. Your own ego stops you from doing a lot of things in business. You think, oh, I'm the only one who can do whatever. And you realize that at a certain point, when you start getting busy enough, you're hurting your clients instead of helping them trying to do everything. We should all have other professionals we bring in to assist us. I think everybody's a team. People say they're not, but they team up with other people in their office. If you're going to have any life at all, you're going to have different times. I watched you do it earlier. You got another team member to go take a picture for you on something. I mean, if you don't have some kind of working relationships, one of the great things about Coldwell Banker is the offices in general are so willing to help each other that,
no question,
some of the agents that aren't on teams yet have formed little mini teams just by helping each other.
You're exactly right, because we get emails all the time. Hey, I need help with a showing, or can someone go open a house for me? It's amazing how quick people respond and they want to help one another. So that's a really good point. So with your team today, and you've obviously grown over the years, how many people are on your team right now?
Well,
all right, then tell us a little bit about it.
You're making me guess now,
yeah.
but
tell us about your team first, and then how many of you that are working.
So
with you.
We've got 26 full-time employees on our team, and that's broken up into 5 people that do nothing but input listings and things of that nature, because we care about client care side of it so much, and everything's got to be instantaneous right now. And I don't want the agents that work for me to have to spend their time inputting the listings. I want them out trying to help our clients and being more client service managers. And really, I think what's lost in our industry right now is the helpful side. Like, you should be the resource for where should my kid go to the doctor? What veterinary should I use? What are the better groceries? Whatever the questions are, that's all a part of being a real estate agent, in my opinion. And I want to free my agents up. And that's one of the things we've done with our team is we have closing coordinators that negotiate repairs and follow the tracking of that part. And we have professionals in each of those positions, whether it's who takes the pictures, who takes the brochures out, who drops your signs, who picks the lock boxes up, so that the agents can really focus on the clients more, because that's our number one thing we teach is, believe it or not, today it's just, I don't care if it's their first house or their 50th house, it's the most important thing that person's ever going to invest in, and they deserve the time.
No question. I mean, you're exactly right. And communication and relationships is everything. So I'm going to take you back a little bit. I know when you started, you went to college here. So tell everybody, because it's fun when Mom was talking about it. I was 7 when I moved to Raleigh, but what was Raleigh like when you started?
Holy cow. So
do you remember what the average sales price when you started?
Yes. My average sales price was $52,500.
That's awesome.
The first home I sold for $34,750. I can't forget that.
How much was it?
$34,750. So, and I'll tell you.
And what was the contract like back then?
One page, really simple, not much to it at all. I think you had like 4 things you had to fill in on the front page.
That's amazing.
That was pretty much it.
As we just had our contract meeting today with Roger. And
well, see, so when I started, we didn't even have computers yet. So we had a book they published every 2 weeks. And if you got something listed, your goal was to get it listed before the publishing date expired. So it was in the book in 2 days. 2 weeks. So the reason it took so long for homes to sell back then is just to literally have anybody else know other than you that it was on the market.
So if you could go back in time and tell Jim Allen something that you wish you knew now, what would it be?
Get out of your own way and accept help. Don't have to do everything yourself. Be willing to ask other people who've already done it and learn from their experience. I tended to be the school of hard knocks guy that thought, gosh, I'm an engineer. I'm smart. I can do this. I can do that. And the truth is, we all realize the older we get, we're learning every day how little we knew when we were young. And, gosh, it'd be fun to go back and implant in that guy's head. You really don't know it all. What you thought you knew, you really didn't know.
So and I know what was, since then till now, and I know it's been a few decades, however, but what are the biggest changes you've seen in the Triangle regarding the real estate market?
Well, I would say a lot of it is we're now an international market. We're not just a local market anymore. I mean, I have as many clients today buying houses sight unseen from California or another country as I do people who are actually riding around looking at houses. So, Raleigh has become a destination versus when I was starting out my career, I mean, people thought we were Mayberry. And today it's really, one of the top 4 or 5 places in the country people consider before they're going to move.
We have over 70 people moving here today. And actually, I did a fun video with my son a couple of days ago, guess the sales price with a teen trivia. And I did a listing in San Jose that just closed last week, 1,600 square feet, 4 bedrooms, 2 bath, 0.14 acres. Sold for $250,000 over asking for $1.35 million. Then I showed a listing that we just recently sold a month ago in Wake Forest for 4,100 square feet, listed at $599. Now it's sold for $701, but the people coming in from out of state, they're like, we could get 4,100 square feet on 2/3 of an acre. So we're also seeing that the cost of living, taxes, it's just a phenomenal place to live. If anything, now we just need
accessibility. I mean, when I started, there wasn't an outer loop there. The inner loop was barely used. And, North Hills Mall was a J.C. Penney and a cafeteria. And now look at what's happening with North Hills. I sold my first house in North Hills for $64,000 in 1986. And I bought that same house again this past year.
The same one?
Same one. I bought it for $605. To tear it down to build a $2.75 million house.
That's awesome. And that leads me to my next question. It's perfect. So we're out and about, and what's awesome too is we do several deals together, the Jim Allen team, new construction. Right? Where have you become so instrumental with land development and new construction? How did you start that?
So as a child, I mean, really, literally a child at 22, 23 years old. And I know that that's supposed to be an adult. I was a child at 22 or 3. I got to sit with some of the most brilliant people, a guy named Lewis Dickerson, who started Homes by Dickerson.
I was gonna say that's Dickerson.
A guy named Arthur Sandman, who was the best developer that ever developed in Raleigh, and a guy named Tom Powell, who was my mentor, who was selling the homes for him, and another guy named Mike Devnam. And those 4 people were so instrumental in forming North Raleigh. And to be a young kid sitting there getting to listen and getting the inside track on what those guys were doing. Now, they didn't have any idea they were helping me while we were doing this, because back then, everybody did everything for themselves. And I've taken that into my own real estate career and realized I do the opposite of that. I'm continually trying to teach somebody else how to do what I do, because I know it was so much harder figuring it out on my own, watching someone else versus I don't mind helping. When people ask me, I mean, just like you, and I know this, when HBW agents ask for help, you and I are the first 2 to respond most of the time. And I do it because we owe it back to our industry. I mean, I have a wonderful life, and I love the people I get to help, and I love the industry I'm in. But the new home side of it was just an emergence. Those guys were already doing everything, and they just finally aged out. Tom Powell had his own agency, and that's where I worked originally for the Powell and Company. And when he decided he was tired of doing it, Mike Devnam left and went to Hodge & Kitchell and formed a new homes thing there. Tom went back to his former stomping grounds at Prudential, and I went with him. And I didn't want to take his business, so I started my own. I worked for him. I was just on his team, for the first really 10 years of my business. And that's why I didn't start a team earlier, because I was on a team. We just didn't call it a team. It was his company, and it was, named Powell and Company. And it's no different than what you and I do as a team right now. He just called his company and instead of being affiliated with another company. That's one of the great things about HBW. They've allowed us to have our own entrepreneurial spirit within a big company. And I don't want to own the company. I want to sell people houses and help them. But, the new home side of it, the way that really started is when other developers started getting older and older, or stopped just, they made their money and got tired of doing it. I had builders that were relying on me, and I had to start finding ways to provide lots for them. So I didn't want to do it. I've been forced to do it.
Gotcha. So, and this is great, because I'm learning things I didn't know about you. So this is awesome, man. Last March, we all got hit with an uppercut. Didn't know it was coming. COVID-19, pandemic. We've seen the effects of it on the real estate market. Just with the lack of inventory alone, we're down about 80% in Wake County per May 20 to May 21. In saying that, it's spilled over into new construction. And what have you seen? Because I remember the last pre-sale I've done, where I actually did a pre-sale where my clients could pick things out. It was January.
That's right.
And actually we got one building with Winslow Homes. That was my last one where they could actually pick things out. What has COVID done to the new construction? I know you touched on it briefly at the beginning of the podcast, but maybe you can elaborate more on what you're seeing and the challenges the builders are having, because I know buyers I want to go buy that home, that lot, but they're not releasing them until maybe they're spec'd out and everything's picked out. So maybe you can talk about that, maybe lumber margins. And
what you're saying is exactly right. So we are finding that it's very difficult to price a house until the very end of construction, because you don't know even what materials are going to be available. And if you've gone under contract to sell a home to someone, and it's hard for people to understand, well, we put specs in the agreement we do with them. Well, what if all of a sudden this particular thing stops being available? It's not that you don't want to deliver it. You simply can't. Different windows, appliances, everything is at such scarcity right now that you're afraid to sign a contract with someone to tell what you're delivering, because it may not be available. And that person had this dream house they wanted, and you're not able to deliver it. So the other thing we're combating against, in North Raleigh for 27609, where we're sitting, this year's appreciation will be right at 20%. Yeah. And, so when you're sitting there, 20% appreciation, that's 1 1/4, 1 3/4 a month that a house is going up in value.
It takes 6
if you're
8 months
building it, and the costs are going up at 25% while you're building it. Well, sounds great, because it's going to be worth this much more when you finish and you're buying it. But when you're on the other side and the costs have increased 25%, how do you make a profit when those two things are happening? So what's happening is most of my builders are waiting until interior trim is done, cabinets are in, before they'll price a house, still allowing people time to come in and paint or maybe select flooring and things of that nature. But that's about the selection process. I, as many builders as I represent, I probably only have a handful right now that will accept pre-sales. And those pre-sales are really more the upper end client. Now, I do represent one builder, Countess and Kate's in town, that actually is putting everything in their house, and they're selling them before they begin construction right now, which is amazing. But, all of my guys want to be fair with the consumer. And if they priced it up front right now, they would have to put so much fluff in there to cover themselves that they're not comfortable with it, because integrity is a big part of building, and having the person on the other end respect you when it's over is as important as how you started. And these guys have built their reputations on character, and for the first time ever, they can't predict cost.
Understood. Do you see any things have you seen any escalation clauses for lumber? If you did a pre-sale or something?
All of them.
Because that's something I saw beginning of this year. And I mean,
but it's not just lumber anymore. So when it was just lumber that was impacting it, that was great, but it's not anymore. Now it's every single component of the house. I mean, every week it's a different supply. OSB, my gosh, went from $3.80 a board to it's selling at $40 a board right now. So, there are things that just simply aren't even available. And the other thing that's happening right now, no one can predict, the theft. Oh my gosh.
Oh, wow.
A framing package gets dropped on Friday afternoon. That's the first delivery date they can make. Well, the framers aren't coming till Monday. They show up Monday and there's no lumber there. And we are having the theft problem has become so big especially when you're in a new community that no homes have been built in yet. And you're just kicking it off. Well, there's nobody there policing it 24 hours a day. And people are these kinds of times create desperation with subs and, delivering prices. The subcontractors are under the pressure to deliver product for what they promised somebody they were going to do it for. They don't want to price it. So it's not just the builder. You may have a plumber that's been doing work for you forever and what your plumbing jobs cost per house. Well, he doesn't know what his job costs are. So he can't tell you yet. That's happening. That's real.
So we have buyers listening right now, and they're wanting to wait maybe for a new home. What advice would you give them, and then for the next year? What wait or what things would you do? The
first thing is an awful lot of the product that's available isn't in the MLS yet. If there are communities you like, ride around, look. You'll see product that's under construction. Sometimes if something's gotten far enough along, with encouragement for agents like you that I know can manage the process well, I'll convince the builders to try and put more of a target price on it. But, it's more important. You say it all the time. It's important who you work with. It's never been more important than who you work with. So right now, if I have a super inexperienced agent who really doesn't know how to counsel their client in the pre-sale process, their client's going to come out of this thing very frustrated. So, if the agent I'm dealing with is mature enough to handle it, we almost have to pick and choose who we can do business with, because the builders want to keep their reputations intact. They don't want someone calling them, all weekend long, telling them that no one showed up to do this or do that or do the other. They'd rather take their time, get it right, and not be with that gun to their head. And I know the consumer can't wait because there's no housing available, so they got to be able to buy. I think my biggest thing I would tell all agents, I would tell the consumer too, if you're planning on putting a down payment down on your house and you want to have an opportunity to buy the next house, that needs to be your due diligence fee.
Yep.
Whatever that whole amount you were planning on putting down, because it's not the highest bid winning, because everything's selling over full price. We're sitting in 27609. I'm a big stat guy, so I know numbers out the wazoo. 27609, the average house is selling 15% over asking price right now. 27502, which is Apex, is the lowest. That's at 7% above asking right now. So when you know that going in, the price in the MLS is the starting price. It is not what you're going to be able to purchase a home for. It's today's starting price. And so your bid should be adjusted according to what the percentages above asking things are selling. But the way to get it below that number, so here's how you as an agent, used to be, how much do I get off the list price is how I prove what I'm doing. Not anymore. Now it's how much below above asking am I able to get it? And the way you do that is by supplying more due diligence fee. I'm not afraid to say that to people because I think there are so many people afraid to ask the question.
Funny, I got Jennifer Zach, great agent on our team. She made a great comment. List price is just the starting price. And that's where, and then Christine with a great comment, they're on our team. And of course, Zach, who you work with matters.
Yeah.
I think too, what's so important, Jim, what you were saying is a lot of questions is, should I have an agent for new construction as well? And I say for sure.
Oh my God.
What do you think about the bigger builders that we've seen starting to cut commission to buyer agents, because
I think it's foolish.
It's crazy to me.
To me, I will tell you right now, when there's scarcity, they're going to do okay. But there is a selection process. We have long memories as agents. We remember the people who've done well by us. I saw a company the other day that has done the opposite. They've increased their payout to 3% instead of reducing it. And, they put an ad out and said, listen, we value agents. Please bring us sales. Their numbers are shooting through the roof. And the largest builder, I won't say their name, but the largest builder in our market has dropped down to just a simple flat fee, $5,000, no matter what the price range of the home is. And they're failing to realize we aren't like regular people who have a 9-to-5 job who get paid no matter what. We get paid in lump sums, but we may work a year and a half, 2 years, and not get paid a nickel for all that length of time. So sure, the check we get at the end looks larger, but guess what? When you take it across the period of time that it takes to earn it, it's not very big. We're minimum wage like everyone else. But I'm not poor mouthing, but my point to that is those guys that are discounting that commission are forgetting the relationship part of our business. That's what we build our time on. And if I get to choose, and I get to choose for my client if there is availability, I'm always going to put my client's needs first, no matter what. But I'll bet you, coming out of the market we're in right now, those types of people will get injured, and they think that we'll forget when they raise the rates back. We won't.
Nope.
We'll always be looking for an alternative.
Nope, because they still want you to. It baffles me as well.
They want you to do the same amount of work. They want you to do everything, but they don't want to pay you, and that's,
it's almost discouraging buyers that you don't need an agent, and you have every right to have someone represent you and help you through the process.
Well, in fact, that same company I was talking about, we've had multiple buyers of our own that we take them there the first time. And during the course of the conversations with their agents, and they're not agents, by the way, they're salespeople who are not licensed. Those people are telling their client the whole time, you don't need an agent. There's no reason for you to have an agent. Why would you even think of having an agent? And I think that is absolutely horrible.
Yeah. And so this is great because you're segueing so great to my questions I have for today. And you're talking about the next 2 to 5 years. What do you see the home prices doing? Because I'm sure you're hearing this all the time. Oh, we're going to wait for the crash.
It's not coming.
And I try to explain to people this is not 10 years ago. And obviously we don't have crystal balls, but what do you think in the next 2 to 5 years?
Good one.
What do you got?
Let me tell you. So the good news about being old first and having done this for a length of time is I have really important relationships with the banks in our community. And I supply numbers to them and stats to them and help them decide how to raise lower limits that they'll loan to, et cetera. And so we've been having discussions recently, and most of the banks that we deal with on the construction side of it are raising the amount they will loan to builders because they know that prices are going to continue to go up. And what I would like everybody to understand is we've got Apple coming here in the next 2 years.
Google, correct?
The last place Apple went, well, I was going to get ready to tell you, Apple started it. But let me tell you, the last place Apple went was Austin, Texas. They brought 2,500 jobs, which created 32,500 new jobs. Okay, here in the Triangle, we're supposed to get about 2,700 is what I've been told. And that's going to make somewhere between 30 and 35,000 other people become employed here because the Googles, the Microsofts, all the other tech sector will follow where Apple goes. But not only that, other types of businesses who build the components for Apple, who do other things. I mean, there's so much that this will create. And we already have a shortage of homes, and we're not even dealing with the Apple impact yet. So there is going to be a paradigm shift, but it's not going to be what you think. You know, the one that happened in 2008 was a drop. The one we're getting ready to see is going to be from going here to up here. We are going to have to get used to the fact that people moving here from California and other parts of the country aren't going to be saying anymore, oh gosh, I'm buying a house like you described earlier. Because the truth is, how do you become the best place to live in America, according to Money Magazine, best place to start a new business, best place to invest in real estate, and people not want to come there, right? I had a lady a couple of weeks ago, a patent attorney with Apple, that's one of the first people moving down here. And she came into my office and she said, I'm getting ready to sell my house in Chicago, and I want to buy a small house here until I decide where I want to live, and I'll rebuild my dream house then. And I said, okay, well, when she told me that, my numbers go way down here. And she said, yeah, I mean, I don't want to spend more than 1.8, somewhere in that range on the starter house. And then, I'll build my real house later. And I'm thinking, okay, well, gosh. And we better get used to that, because that is the truth. And if you look at the average salary of the people coming with Apple, it's between 189 and 225. Well, the median income in Wake County right now is $90,917. So when you think about that, this is more than double what the average person being employed is right now. So of course, that's going to bring in a higher end element. I ran stats this past week, just trying to figure out absorptions in different price points. I didn't get to a 5.6 month supply until I got to $3.5 million in a home. $2.5 million home in Raleigh, North Carolina right now only has a 2.6 month supply.
Amazing.
So that's not even a neutral market. A neutral market is a 6 month supply, and we're an extreme seller's market.
This is great, guys. Bring the comments right now. This is gold. We have Jim here with all experience. If you have questions, whether you're an agent, you're looking to buy, looking to sell, bring the comments. I can bring it up on screen, and he'll be happy to answer those questions for you. And it's funny you were saying that, because I had a friend of mine, and it was last summer, and they were in New York City, or they referred me, great people. They actually bought right off near North Hills, the Parade Winter, and they referred me somebody who was thinking about coming to rent for the summer, get their kids out of the condo. And she's like, I just want to have a pool, air conditioning.
Okay.
And I'm like, no problem. And what do you think? What do you want to spend a month? She's like, maybe anywhere from $10,000 to $15,000 a month. And I'm sitting there and I killed myself. And I remember calling mom going, I don't think that exists here. So I started calling luxury homes that have been sitting inside the Beltline or things like that to see if they like to rent. But it just touches on perspective of where people are coming in from. So that's awesome. So in saying all this, we have a lot of agents. I know we have great teams. Some agents are maybe newer in the game, and they're probably getting frustrated. Offers or trying to help people, and they're not getting the deal. So what would you say for any agents, newer agents, could be even newer, could be agents doing this for a long time that just need to adjust with the market? What advice would you give them in such a competitive market to help positive attitude and be able to educate their clients?
On the front end, I would say you have to restructure your own thinking, because if the way that you were trying to justify your existence earlier was how much you got off of a price, you have to really go look at what are the numbers now. What's the average due diligence for a house and the price point that I'm purchasing at? And my number's got to be higher than that. If it's not, I have no opportunity to purchase. We're not even talking about price yet. We're just talking about due diligence. Because years ago, when the due diligence contract came out, people were putting $500, maybe $1,000 due diligence. I've done them as high as $200,000 already on houses that were $600,000. And I say to you that I wanted to buy a lot recently from one of our friends in Northridge, and I personally gave him $200,000, in due diligence money, and then was having buyer's remorse at night myself after having written the check. And that does happen. We're going to get buyer's remorse no matter what. That's a new thing we've got to be able to talk them through, is due diligence buyer's remorse.
How do you tell buyers this? Because they'll get this, I overpaid. They did.
How could you?
One, you don't know what the other offers. I tell my clients this: winning is getting the house at a great interest rate. Everybody wants to win. What
That's
we're
correct.
doing, and I think this has been helpful. Jordan Hatch, she helps me. We put a spreadsheet together of all the homes we've sold, homes we've helped with buyers, and homes we've lost out on. List price, offer price, due diligence. Because as we do our consults, especially with buyers, we're able to show them this is what it's going to take.
That's right.
Because they're able to see that. Because for many that are just entering into this market and you're telling them what it blows their mind.
Well, it has to be hands-on. I mean, first of all, if you saw the matrices, and I mean, mine aren't big elaborate spreadsheets, but I break these numbers down so I can explain it to someone easily, because I think we forget we deal in real estate every day, but the consumer doesn't do it every day. So we have to be really patient, first of all, and give them the opportunity to ask their questions quickly, because while you're asking these questions, we are losing that house. The moment it came coming soon, offer started right then. If you wait until it can be shown, you will not get the home.
Right?
They will
Roll the
already
dice.
have 25 offers, and the price is going to be bid up to who knows where. My suggestion, get it off the market the quickest you can. The day you see the coming soon come, apply enough pressure in reverse by the amount of due diligence money you offer and the timeline you offer it on, that they don't want to wait for somebody else. Because if you're selling a $500,000 home and I give you $100,000 of that up front, you would love it if I didn't close.
Right.
The pressure would be off of you. So, in my estimation, it doesn't mean that it's not still going to sell over asking price. It means you secure a chance to buy. And people say, well, I'm a first home buyer. I don't have that availability. Whatever your availability is, use your best shot, the first shot. Don't, I'm going to offer more if I need to. You won't get a second chance.
So you got to be prepared to go all in. All right, you get this one too. Jim, we're just going to wait for the market to shift.
Shift up?
Yeah.
Because you're going to get priced out.
Yeah.
And if the market is appreciating, if it's going to take you 6 months to buy, and North Raleigh market is appreciating at 1.25% per month, then okay, wait 6 months and you're going to be paying 9% more for a house. That's the absolute truth. So the great thing about the way the market is going right now, if you hold a house 12 months in North Raleigh and it's appreciating at 20% annually, you can still pay a full commission and make 14% next year on reselling a home. People are going to buy up and buy a more expensive house time, but you're also going to see a lot of people speculating in the market, and they're smart, because the reason you're seeing these iBuyers, investor buyers we're competing with, is because they're used to not being able to get but 0.8% of interest on their money, and they can come out with almost no risk and make 15-20% on their money in a year's time, and they hold the thing for 5 years. Think about it. If it goes up 20% a year for 5 years, it's increased 100% in value.
It's amazing.
I mean,
so when you have sellers now, right? Because what's the number one response we get? Because there's absolutely literally no better time to maximize your equity, and whether you want to parlay that into a downsize to a home, your next home. But a seller says, Jim, we just don't know where we want to go. What advice do you give to the sellers to be able to capitalize on a seller's market, which we were in, but then also be able to parlay that into their next move? Because that's usually the thing that we're seeing, possibly seeing rent backs. We're seeing things of that nature. But is there anything else that you may be able to give advice on?
They're in a position where, since there's such scarcity, there is a likelihood they could lease their own home back for a period of time while they look. But the real reality, if you want to super maximize your dollars, then you would do a coming soon as quickly as possible, and take whatever the market is, and then become a renter until you find the other property or build the other property of your dreams, or catch one under construction. I had an agent from another company yesterday, and I represent about 140 neighborhoods right now. And she sent me a list of every one of the neighborhoods and said, tell me what you got in all these price ranges. And I said, well, do you have buyers for all of them? No, but I just want everything you got. Well, I won't have it tomorrow. So having it today won't really help you. that's not the knowledge base I'm talking about, because it is instantaneous. As people get ready and prepare for the market both ways, what I would tell you is you need to counsel with that seller and say, listen, guys, I've got two options for you. I can maximize the dollars you get out of your house, or I can find you another home. And I think there's very little risk you won't sell this one if you find the other one at the same time. I wouldn't have thought those opportunities were available before, but in today's world, they are. I mean, it's a tough process, but I would tell most sellers in this market, you don't have to just wait and sell today, because we are in a prolonged growth pattern right now. I mean, we couldn't catch up if we wanted to. It takes me today to develop the average lot 37 months. It takes me 11 months to build the average house. It's 48-month cycle, right? And we have such a shortage. New will not be enough to overcome the shortage we're experiencing. So prices are going to continue to go up and up and up and up. And resales will be the easiest caveat to get to, right? So there's no way. I mean, the price in my career, the price between new and resale has always averaged over 20%, not anymore.
No, it's going up.
That is really narrowed down to the point where new and resale are coming really close to each other. They may still prefer to buy new no matter what, but they may have to settle for a resale that maybe needs a little love. The other thing I would tell you is sellers, it's not as important the condition of the house today as it used to be.
Right.
It used to be, if you didn't have it perfect the day one you started, you wouldn't get top dollar. Scarcity, at certain price points, it's still important. But when you're in the under 500 range, it's not, because there's nothing available.
We still do declutter, paint, carpet, aesthetically pleasing. Buyers are so visual, but you're exactly right. We just got to price it correctly.
Clean up the yards.
Yep. So tell me why you love what you do.
I get to help people do what they want to do in their lives. I mean, I like it because I get to, every day's different. I get to meet a new person every day. I get to experience stuff with other people. And, it's like when I started in business, I was not the answer to things. And, I was always the one asking, and something happened somewhere along the way. And I started having the answers for other people. And it's fun to be able to make their choices or help them make it, and do it confidently, and know that what you're doing for them or trying to help them with, you can sincerely say, I care about you. That's why I'm doing this. It's not about money for me. I mean, the wonderful thing about being successful in anything is it takes the pressure off of you long-term in your life. And, so right now I would tell you, I work more for my buyers than I ever have in my life, and my sellers. I mean, it's not about what does it do for me. It's about what does it do for them.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Yeah, I agree too. Every day is different. And at the end of the day too, what we're helping people accomplish in the grand scheme of things, whether that's their first home, downsizing, maybe helping someone with a very hard time in their life. There's things where we're involved that we get caught up in the day-to-day, but when you step back and say, this is really cool, and then to have the confidence that people have in you to do those is amazing.
Well, the other thing that, and I'll say this, and I'm saying this to every realtor out there, and I want to make sure you get this part. Once you have a certain amount of success in your real estate career, you owe back to your own industry. If you haven't noticed, I sponsor everything I can sponsor for, if somebody calls me and says, sponsor the Parade of Homes event, I do it. Or they say, Triangle Business wants to do this or that. I always do those things, not because we're overflowing playing. I do it because if we don't as leaders, who will? And I want to teach other people that when you invest in your own business and you give back to other people, you can't handle the amount of reward that comes in your direction. An agent who's a top producer asked me the other night at that Triangle Real Producers that I sponsored. She said, well, now what do you get out of this? I said, I get to meet all the other agents. They get along with each other better. It makes my business better. I mean, but they thought there had to be some financial reward for me, and there wasn't. It's just, it makes other people. Listen, I think Triangle Real Producers has done more to help the agents like each other in this market. We don't compete anymore. Listen, he's one of the top agents in town. I'm one of the top agents in town. We sit right next to each other. We're high-fiving each other at the elevator. I love his family. His dad is one of my heroes in life. We share a lot of views on life. I won't go into those today, but we do. But at the same time, this guy was the stud pilot military guy on earth. His locker's right next to mine at our country club. And I mean, I admire them. I've loved Ida since day one. She is the tornado or the hurricane. I'm telling you. And I'm a little more chill. She's out there some days, but she's fun.
Well, that's why I tell people too, because
life's exciting.
People reach out to me. I've taken a passion to social media and videos. I enjoy doing it. And just the other day, I have agents, they'll email me or text me and say, hey, can you tell me what camera you use? Or what do you do? How do you edit? And then there's sometimes people will say, well, why do you do that? I'm like, well, first of all, I love helping people. And two, everyone's different. And then third, there's enough business for everybody.
There is.
And it's just helping one another.
So the other night in that event,
and I want to give Aaron Thomas a shout out.
Yeah. Because, me too. Yeah, me too. After that event the other night, I went outside and I had agent after agent after agent, especially some of the newer ones just coming up asking questions. I've had lunch with 3 or 4 of them since. And one of them's boss came because they thought I was recruiting the agent because they couldn't imagine why I would be helping them if I didn't want them to work on my team. And I was like, well, because they ask. Yeah, that's what you do. I mean, if everything you do has got to have a payoff for you, you're not a good person. I mean, it should be about, we're just nice people. Like I was so excited to get to do this with you because I want to show that we're friends. We're not competing with each other.
No, exactly. I think it's fantastic. And as you said earlier too, there's also a difference between being an agent as well as being the expert in the community. Who to go to. I had a past client call me today, hey, who do I need to call for my air conditioner? Or where should I go use like restaurant? But that leads me to my last step here before. This has been great. I know we can talk all day. But I have a little rapid question series for you, okay? For some things you may not know about you. Favorite restaurant?
Winston's.
That's a staple. Favorite food?
Oh, man, that's even harder now. Sushi.
Sushi, your favorite food? Yeah. All right. Favorite sports team? You can have a couple.
I got a couple, and it's in every sport. Golden State Warriors, and I'm not a bandwagon guy, but Golden State because one of my kids loves them. NC State football. I love the Yankees, love Cincinnati Reds, love the Baltimore Orioles. I'm a big baseball guy.
Baseball, did you get on? You like the Canes? Did you get on the Cane train?
I love the Canes too because they're so exciting. Brendan Moore, man,
is he not awesome,
dude? That guy is so intense. I love it.
What I love about the Canes is because we're guys, people maybe listen outside of the triangles we call it. During basketball season, there's battles. You got Duke fans, State fans, Carolina fans, Wake Forest fans, you name it. Then the Hurricanes are playing. We're all there. We're all one. But
I'll tell you what I saw last night in that Stanley Cup final. Let me tell you what, those guys, the Lightning is better. I mean,
they were good.
But we know where we got to go because they're the only team that could have beaten the Canes this year. And unfortunately, had to play them in the second round. But next year, Brendan Moore will not accept them not getting better. That's my opinion.
I love it. So what do you like to do when you're not selling real estate?
I worship my children, and I have a really deep faith. So I go to Bible study. I keep myself intact that way because I want to be accountable. I have to be an example for my children, and that's the number one thing. I'm a dad first. I got 2 boys, 15 and 13, that I love more than life itself. And I now, that's the other thing with your clients. Man, I understand when their child's got a cold or nose is bleeding or whatever else. I mean, you can't have that empathy without being there. But that's the number one thing, man. Dad.
I noticed something about you, at least through social, is that you don't miss a baseball game.
Never.
Now, you guys were just at Campbell.
That's right.
My buddy's the manager
exciting. There. I didn't know that.
Justin Hare. He was an assistant when I was at Watchdog coaching, and now he's the head manager. He's been there about 7 years, and the facilities are nice.
Oh, my gosh. They blow NC State's away. Campbell's baseball field is as good as my kids played on. And let me tell you what, Brother, I posted too. My son hit back-to-back triples this past weekend, and his team won this big event.
Now, is that your oldest?
That's my oldest. He's my 15-year-old.
Is he your 13-year-old play?
My 13-year-old plays too. My 13-year-old can hit the ball a mile. He's a big kid. He's 6'1" at 13 years old, which I don't know where he got the height, but that's another story.
All right. So, favorite movie?
Oh, wow. I'm a crybaby. So, I like all kinds of cinema. I can't say just one.
You can have a couple because it depends on genre and everything.
Oh, man, that's too hard for me. I can't do it.
How about once? But just pick one. If it's on TV, you can start watching it from any point.
Man, I've watched Casino. I know every word of Casino.
Did you see the prequel trailer for The Sopranos?
Oh yeah, man. But listen, I love that. But I like it all. Like I also read sappy books too. I'm that guy that. But any Grisham movies, those were all great too. I don't know.
How about your favorite place you visited?
I would tell you on my honeymoon in Maui.
That's where I went on my honeymoon.
Standing on the plantation first tee box and looking at 360 and seeing the ocean on all sides. And believe it or not, my wife let me play golf on my honeymoon. Amazing. And haven't been back since, but been all over the place. Vancouver, another one. Vancouver, Canada. Oh my God.
I was there only for we were one night we went on a trip. I just remember how clean it was.
We're on a beach and there's a plane landing right there in front of you and you're on the beach. And it's not far out past where you are. And there's a Gulf station out in the middle of it. They gas up and take off.
That's awesome.
It was cool.
So where would you want to travel that you haven't been to? What's a dream destination?
I want to go. Number one, I would like to go to Jerusalem. I would like to walk this trail, right? I mean, I really would. And Rome is the other place. Just seeing the history and being able to take a second out. I've been most places in the U.S., not everywhere, but most places in the U.S. And that's what's kept me from going abroad as much because the U.S. is, gosh, I mean, you can go into a different place every weekend that you can drive to. That's so beautiful, right?
It's the craziest real estate story.
Oh gosh, I got a bunch of these. Unfortunately, I was showing these two elderly ladies houses one time, and the daughter was 78, and the mom was in her 90s, and I was doing a Nortel relocation, and we went up to this split level, and knock on the front door. Nobody answers. I heard music playing, but we'd made an appointment. They said nobody was home, and we went down the hallway, and oh my gosh. That lady went from barely able to walk to cruising out of this. I was like in total shock. I've never seen all kinds of things like that happen. But it's the most. We didn't speak again. The whole drive back to the office, I was scared to talk. I asked the daughter, "Would you like to see another house?" No. and she got out, and they darted into their car, and I ran in the office, and I didn't speak to them again.
Oh my gosh. So this is the last question I have for you is something I ask every guest on the Super Terb podcast, and I get an awesome answer every time. The best advice you've ever received, and by who?
Tom Powell told me when I was young in real estate, if I didn't list, I wouldn't last. And I know you hear it all the time. But when he told me, I really took it to heart, and it helped me to realize it as an agent, if you aren't out listing properties, you're not creating opportunities. We can all say, I got leads from this or that or the other. The ultimate bottom line, listings create every lead that's created anywhere. That's the best advice. But second, be yourself. You can't be the best anybody else. You can get 1% better yourself every day. Don't compete with anyone other than yourself.
Love it. Love it. We're going to take a quick break, but any final thoughts? This has been awesome.
No, I tell you, I think real estate, I know a lot of the young agents. I'm super excited about what the future of real estate here has to. I want to be in it for the next 20 years, but I'm really more and more excited because the young agents coming on now are very sharp and they're learning so much at a young age. So that's exciting. So, my biggest thing is I would tell you, Raleigh's going to be the number one place to live for at least the next million years.
Yeah, that's great. So I'm going to take a quick break for the podcast on Apple and Spotify, and we're going to come back. I normally have a local beer of the week, but today I want to talk about a local business of the week as we finish up the show. And if you haven't been there yet, Jim, you're going to want to go check it out. So just take 1 second, guys. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll wrap up the show on the other side. And welcome back to the Super Terb Podcast. Again, I'm your host, Michael Turbot, your local real estate expert, a.k.a. Super Terb, a.k.a. Coach Terb, with a featured guest, Jim Allen, owner of the Jim Allen Group. And as I mentioned before the break, I usually have a local beer of the week. There's so many great breweries in the area. But I want to talk about a local business of the week. And I actually was there on location last week. My friend Sam and Anna, they just opened Brooksville Indoor Golf and Lounge in the factory. Wow. You would love this place. Wow. And as it's raining outside, guys, it's the perfect place. It's kid-friendly. They have 3 golf simulators, like Tiger Woods endorses. You can play over 100 golf courses. But not only that, if you want to throw baseballs, you want to shoot hoops, you even want to hunt. Wow. You can bring food in on your own. They have a great pizza place. Of course, you have all the restaurants around the factory, but they also have popcorn, chips, beer, wine, soda. So I just want to give them a shout out because I think they've been only open a couple weeks and they've seen it's been very busy. So it's kid friendly. Go see them. You can hit balls. When I was there, I played number 17 for about 15 minutes on sawgrass, just hitting shots into there. So I want to thank everyone that's joined us today on the Super Terb Podcast. Also, when you go to Brooksville, tell them Terb sent you. But I can't thank you guys enough. If you like the podcast, please subscribe. Please like. Again, you can find it on YouTube, Facebook Business, Spotify, Apple. And if there's anything we can do, Jim or myself, Jim Allen, Untitled Chapter Group, to help you accomplish real estate goals, please reach out to us. We'd love to help you in this competitive time. There's literally no better time to sell as well as buy. So till next time, again, it's Michael Turbot, your local real estate expert with the Untitled Chapter Group, Coldwell Banker, HBW. Thanks for joining us. And remember, as always, guys, remember, who you work with matters. We'll see you next time.